Hey YouTube, what's happening? It's been a minute, but thought I'd come back, do a quick video update on Ethereum. Um, so if you watch my previous videos, you can get a lot more in-depth, detailed explanations on what's kind of been going on. Nothing too surprising. Um, Not what we hoped for, but not surprised at the same time. Um, we'll just do a quick recap here on the daily. I like to use a daily just to kind of forecast kind of a longer term, but then also use it for kind of midterm swing trades. Um, Typically, I'll do top to bottom, like a macro to micro analysis on all the time frames. So I'll go monthly down to like 30-minute. Anything then lower than 30 minutes, basically just pure volatility. But you can really trade any time frame. These charts are what's called fractal, so the same patterns will show on every chart. It's just on the daily, you got a bar worth of daily trades placed, so about 8 hours worth of data. Whereas the 4 hour that would be split into two bars because each bar is 4 hours. But generally, you'll see the same patterns. It'll just be like a lot more bars on the lower time frames. But then depending on your holding period and so forth, you want to pick the right chart to place your trade. So like, I prefer like a few days to a couple of weeks, unless I'm doing like a very macro trade where this is kind of one of those instances because it's bottoming out. And so once I confirm it's actually bottomed, I'm going to buy in and try to ride it to the next top. So that's a long-term hold that could be anywhere from months to years. Um, so it just depends on the trade you're trying to do and whatnot. But I think it's a good idea to do both long-term and short-term because the long-term are a little bit more stable and less risky. Once I start identifying bottoms and so forth. Um, it's just a little bit safer to kind of buy and hold at that point. But like at the same time, I mean, risk is very subjective and up to the individual placing the trades. So, like, if you use tight stops and you prefer to make your money quicker, then you're probably not going to want to do that because if the market moves against you, then you have to wait longer to. You're basically sitting around waiting, hoping it goes back up, right? And so you could just be sitting on losses for who knows how long, and then your money's tied up. So, from a risk management standpoint, that's not great either. So it just depends. But I like to do a mix. Anyway, so you can see my trend lines here. We've got them crossing here. This is an apex from a consolidation topping pattern that happened at the top. Turned into kind of like a descending triangle consolidation, and then a real breakdown. And then you kind of get a pivot low around this apex here. And then the move's real, but then it busts. So it comes kind of back up to the breakout or the breakdown price, really. Hits that trend line, hits it again, and now you can see it's starting on its downtrend. This right here is kind of another descending triangle. This is more of your standard because it's got like a flat base, where this is descending, but it's more of a symmetrical triangle. Which is more of a giveaway that it's going to break out downside. But anyway, you get this descending triangle pattern here, and you're like, okay, is that bottoming? And typically, when the bottom trend line's flat and then the top is descending, that means it's more likely to break out downside because that top trend line's pointing down, which it implies that it's going to go downside to the next lower degree, and as you can see, it did. It came out, it tried to break up real, and so you had a nice breakout here that was real, but it busted, and then it came down to the next lower degree. Here you kind of have a bottoming pattern here where it bottoms, straight line base here, retests it 3 times, breaks up. So now we're in a similar situation as this consolidation pattern where it breaks up and then it busts. And so you can see here it finally broke upside of that top trend line, which is what I was looking for before I placed the trade. But you can see it busted back down to breakout price. Now it's following the trend line downside. So is it going to hold or is it going to bust? We'll see. If you look here, this pattern is actually forming one specific type of a head and shoulders where there's, double shoulders and then a head. So we'll see. Right here around 1425 is the neckline. And so if it breaks that, it is going to bust to the next lower degree. But right now it appears to be holding, so we'll see what it goes on. But as you can see, you never really got. So what I was looking for initially was price came up here. I'm like, okay, that's good, but it's a partial. What I'm really looking for is a 2-bar confirmation over this trend line, and it did break upside, but there's no 2-bar. If you look at it, so if you look at this, you'll see there's a green bar that breaks upside of the trend line and then closes above it. That's a good sign. But then guess what? It's just there's a red bar that closes below it. So that's not great. Then you get a really good green bar. So, okay, that's promising because it closed up above both of those ranges. So it's like, okay, that's a good sign. The next bar was not a confirmation though. So that's not a 2-bar. And then you get and then that long wick fills, which is normal, but like it's just generally not very confident. You can see it's kind of all over the place. It breaks up and then it comes down and then it's like, no, we want to go up, and then it hesitates a little bit and then it fills. They want to push it up. And then you get this. You get this, small green bar top and then a red reversing bar. So that's a dead giveaway. And then it's not really a surprise that it busts back to the trend line. Okay, we're trying to go up. Nope. Bust back. So now it's trying to go up again. So we'll see. But let's go to the weekly. The weekly is going to be what I'm going to look at for a really good 2-bar confirmation because it's just hovering over this trend line here barely now. But just take a look at this. So on the long-term macro trend, this is blatant that it was not ready to go upside because what I'm looking for is that 2-bar. You got a nice green bar here that closed above the trend line, but then you get a red reversing bar immediately after, and that's not good for an upside move. What we needed was a green bar and a close higher than this green bar's range. We needed it to close up here, and then it's like, okay, it's going to move up a little bit, finish the move, sideways, consolidation, then make another level up. It's not doing that, so it might still. I think my theory still holds because this is definitely a bottoming pattern in my opinion, especially with the peak trough here. And then it held here, and now it's moving up over the trend line. It's trying to go. And where's it gonna go? Down to 400, or I guess it could if big money wants to buy super cheap. But it's already 9.5, and for Ethereum, they've got the big merge coming up, which is supposed to be like a massive change from proof of work to proof of stake. It's gonna make it enormously more efficient, etc. It's just going to be a massive upgrade, and so I think people are going to want to buy in versus dropping it to 400, although they could drop it to 400 just to buy in on the cheap if they know that long term it's going to really, that merge is really going to be beneficial. But like here we got a green bar. There's 6 days left in the week, so it's just starting. Let's see what's going on with it. Like unfortunately, it's already going into drawdown. You can see there's a small wick. So I mean that's not a great sign that there's already drawdown. But I guess you can't do anything. You have to sit and wait. Let's see what happens. Hopefully we get 2 bars close upside. One bar, this bar hopefully comes back up, closes above the previous bar's range up here. So we're looking for a close over like 1675. And then the next bar, we're looking for a close higher. There's not really much volatility. The momentum is going. It looks like it might try to change sentiment into the teal blue area above zero line. That'd be a good sign. The CCI is not really great. I mean, it's approaching zero, but it's not really it's not really giving us any sort of positive confirmation. So stuck in limbo. It's not the best spot. Um, so there's not really anything. Like I said, a 2 bar confirmation. I really need that to see that the market's going to commit to an upside macro trend. And so that's it. Again, we're just waiting. There's no reason to put money in because, as you can see, you put money in here, it just got taken. Like how many people, how many of this bar were people that said, "Oh, I thought it was going upside," and freaked out and sold? Somebody just took your money, right? Whereas here's a 2 bar confirmation, and then you still get a few bars momentum lag going, so it's less risky because all this confidence, people are going to still buy in a little bit, so you can get out at a better price. It might not be huge, but it's just far less risky than like you know here with no 2 bar. Um, so that's it. That's the analysis. Like just sitting on hands, just waiting for that signal from the market that they're going to commit to a long-term trend, and then I'm going to put money in with a proper stop, and that's what I'm going to do. You can decide your own risk management, but that's all I got. So that's it. Still waiting, but I think it's in a good spot. I think it's trying to go upside macro, but we won't know until we see the market commit. So that's it. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and hopefully leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts, get discussion going. But yeah, anyway, good luck with your trading. I hope it goes well. Take care.